The vast emptiness of space held many secrets, but none as terrifying as the Nexus Dominion. Like a plague of locusts, their warships devoured everything in their path across the Orion Arm. World after world fell before them, leaving only ruins and silence in their wake. The Dominion didn't just conquer, they destroyed, leaving nothing for those who might follow. The Aetherian civilization was different from most. Their cities sparkled like crystal gardens under their blue sun, and their people had mastered the art of healing almost any disease. They were peaceful, having never developed weapons of war. Their buildings reached toward the stars like delicate sculptures. Their technology focused on preservation rather than destruction. For thousands of years, they had shared their medical knowledge freely with any species that asked. The Dominion saw this kindness as weakness. Their massive warships, black as the space between stars, appeared at the edges of Aetherian space without warning. The Aetherians' diplomatic vessels approached with messages of peace. The Dominion answered with plasma torpedoes. In Earth's United Fleet Station, orbiting high above the Pacific Ocean, Commander Hannah Park's hands trembled as she reviewed the incoming transmission. The station's monitoring room was quiet except for the soft hum of equipment and the increasingly desperate voice coming through the speakers. The Aetherian's voice was unlike anything human ears had heard before, like crystal wind chimes in a gentle breeze, but filled with fear. To any who can hear us, the Dominion comes. We cannot stop them. Please, help us preserve what remains. Static crackled, and then silence. Just like that, the voice was gone. Hannah played the message again, her dark eyes fixed on the waveform display. Something in that voice touched a deep chord of humanity's shared memory. The echo of every civilization that had ever faced extinction. She thought of Earth's own close calls, of the times humanity had nearly destroyed itself before finally growing beyond its warlike nature. The emergency alert went out immediately. Within minutes, the station's corridors filled with rushing personnel. Officers in crisp uniforms hurried to their posts, their faces grim with purpose. They had trained for this, but training was one thing, reality was another. Admiral Taho Kim arrived at the command center exactly 3 minutes after the alert. Despite being woken from deep sleep, he looked as sharp as ever in his uniform, his silver hair neatly combed. The old soldier had seen humanity through its first steps into interstellar space, and now he would guide them into their first major conflict. The command center's holographic displays filled the air with maps of known space, showing the Dominion's path of destruction in angry red lines. The Aetherian system pulsed with warning signals, their distress beacon still broadcasting its desperate plea. "Show me the Dominion fleet movements," Taho ordered, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. The display shifted, revealing hundreds of enemy ships moving with terrible purpose toward the heart of Aetherian space. Hannah stepped forward with her report. "Sir, the Aetherians have no military to speak of. Their entire civilization is built around healing and preservation. The Dominion will." She couldn't finish the sentence. "They will do nothing," Taho said firmly, "because we won't let them." He turned to face the gathered officers, his weathered face illuminated by the soft blue glow of the holograms. Years of command had left their mark on him, but his eyes burned with determination. "We knew this day would come," he continued, looking at each officer in turn. "Humanity has prepared for this moment since we first looked up at the stars and wondered what waited for us out there. We built our fleet not for conquest, but for days like this, when the strong prey on the weak, when civilization itself hangs in the balance." The room was absolutely silent as he spoke. Even the usual beeping of consoles seemed muted, as if the machines themselves were listening. "The Dominion thinks they are the greatest power in this arm of the galaxy," Taho said, a slight smile crossing his face. "They're about to learn how wrong they are. It's time to show the galaxy what humanity can do." The response was immediate. Officers rushed to their stations, communications channels lit up with orders, and deep in the shipyards around Earth and Mars, massive hangar doors began to open. Humanity had spent decades preparing in secret, developing technologies that would change the nature of space warfare forever. The Nexus Dominion had never faced a species that could truly fight back. They had grown comfortable in their superiority, confident in their unstoppable advance across the stars. But they had never met humans before. And humans had a long history of standing up for the underdogs. As Hannah watched the preparations unfold, she remembered her grandfather's stories about Earth's old wars, about how the most dangerous opponent wasn't always the biggest or strongest, but the one fighting for something worth protecting. Today, humanity would fight not just for themselves, but for every species that had ever faced extinction at the hands of bullies and tyrants. The battle that would follow would change the galaxy forever. But first, they had to get there in time. The moon's surface stretched out like a silver desert beneath the dome of Luna Base. Hidden beneath its gray dust and ancient craters lay humanity's greatest military secret, a facility that would make history. In the deepest level of the base, Lieutenant Ji-Soo Lee walked through corridors that officially didn't exist, her footsteps echoing in the climate-controlled air. The quantum targeting array filled an entire chamber, its crystalline structure pulsing with soft blue light. Ji-Soo placed her hand on the control panel, feeling the slight vibration of power flowing through the system. This was her life's work. Technology that could track and predict enemy movements with perfect accuracy, down to the smallest quantum fluctuation. Running final diagnostics, she announced to her team. The technicians around her moved with practiced efficiency, their faces reflecting the blue glow of their screens. They had rehearsed this thousands of times, but today was different. Today it was real. The targeting system came alive under her touch, holographic displays filling the air with streams of data. Each crystal in the array was a masterpiece of engineering, capable of calculating probable enemy movements faster than light itself. The Dominion ships would have nowhere to hide. In the adjacent chamber, the dark matter cannons waited. These weapons were perhaps humanity's greatest achievement, and its most terrible. They didn't just punch through shields or armor. They ignored them completely, affecting the very fabric of space-time itself. Ji-Soo sometimes wondered if they had gone too far in creating them, but the reports of the Dominion's atrocities always answered that question. Lieutenant Lee, a voice called from the doorway. Admiral Taiho had arrived for the final inspection. Ji-Soo straightened her uniform and turned to face him. "The systems are ready, Admiral," she reported, gesturing to the displays. "We've achieved perfect synchronization between the targeting array and the weapon systems. The dark matter cannons are calibrated and loaded." Taiho nodded, his eyes scanning the readouts. "Show me," he said simply. Ji-Soo touched a series of controls, and the holographic display changed to show a simulation. A red dot representing an enemy ship appeared, moving in complex, evasive patterns. The targeting system tracked it instantly, predicting its course with absolute precision. In the simulation, a beam of dark energy reached out and touched the target. The red dot simply vanished. "One shot, one kill," Ji-Soo explained. "The Dominion shields might as well be tissue paper against this. We've solved the targeting delay issues. The system now predicts movement patterns at the quantum level, making evasion impossible." The Admiral walked slowly around the array, studying it from every angle. "And we have enough for the entire fleet." "Yes, sir. 50 ships, each equipped with both the targeting system and the dark matter cannons. The Terran Dawn has our most advanced version. It can target up to 20 ships simultaneously." Outside, through the reinforced windows of Luna Base, the Earth hung like a blue jewel in the black sky. Around it, the fleet was gathering. The Terran Dawn led them, its hull gleaming with a subtle iridescence that hinted at the advanced materials used in its construction. Most of humanity thought it was just another space vessel. They had no idea it carried enough firepower to reshape the solar system. "What's the status of the stealth systems?" Taiho asked, still studying the displays. "Fully operational. The quantum field generators are masking our energy signatures. As far as the Dominion sensors are concerned, we're just 50 small transport ships. They won't know what we really are until it's too late. Jisoo pulled up another display, showing the fleet's formation. 50 ships might seem like a small number against the Dominion's hundreds, but each human vessel was a technological marvel. Their hulls contained materials that absorbed energy weapons, their engines could outmaneuver anything in known space, and their weapons would change everything. The crews are ready, she continued. We've run over 1,000 simulations. Every operator knows these systems inside and out. When we engage the enemy, there won't be any hesitation. Taeho was quiet for a long moment, watching the simulated ships move through their practice maneuvers. You understand what we're about to do, Lieutenant? He finally asked. This isn't just about saving the Etherians. We're about to reveal ourselves to the galaxy in a way that can never be taken back. Jisoo nodded solemnly. Yes, sir. After this, everyone will know what humanity is capable of. And they'll either seek our friendship or fear us, Taeho added. There won't be any middle ground. Through the windows, they could see the fleet taking its final formation. The ships moved with perfect precision, their formation designed to maximize the effectiveness of their weapons while maintaining mutual support. Years of secret development, countless hours of training, and humanity's greatest technological achievements, all coming together for this moment. The Dominion won't know what hit them, Jisoo said confidently, repeating the phrase that had become something of a motto among the technical crews. The Admiral smiled slightly. No, they won't. And that's exactly how we want it. Prepare for departure, Lieutenant. History awaits. As Jisoo began the power-up sequence for the quantum targeting array, she felt a mixture of pride and anticipation. Soon, very soon, the galaxy would learn that humanity was not just another species to be conquered or ignored. They were the defenders the galaxy didn't know it needed, armed with technologies that would rewrite the rules of warfare. The Terran Dawn's engines began to glow, ready to lead humanity's fleet into its first interstellar battle. The time for preparation was over. Now came the moment of truth. The stars stretched and twisted before vanishing completely as the human fleet entered fold space. Captain Sunwoo Park stood on the bridge of the Terran Dawn, feeling the subtle vibration of the experimental drive through the deck plates. The view screen showed nothing but swirling patterns of blue and white, the visual representation of what happened when a ship tore a hole through the fabric of reality itself. Drive systems stable, reported the engineering officer. We're maintaining fold integrity at 98%. The crew worked with focused efficiency, their movements precise despite the strange sensations that fold space travel created in human bodies. Some described it as a constant feeling of falling, others as a slight pressure behind the eyes. Sunwoo walked among his crew, checking readings and offering quiet words of encouragement. The Terran Dawn was humanity's most advanced warship, but it was still crewed by people who had never faced real combat. Training simulations could only prepare them so much for what was coming. Captain, called Yeon Ji-cho from her tactical station. Latest intelligence update from our forward probes. The Dominion fleet has grown to 300 vessels. Her hands moved across her console, bringing up detailed scans. They're arranged in attack formation around the Aetherian homeworld. No attempt at concealment. Why should they hide? Sunwoo replied, studying the tactical display. They've never had a reason to. Until now. He could see the Dominion's arrogance in their formation. Ships clustered together, perfect targets for the human fleet's weapons. The fold space drive's hum changed pitch slightly, and the ship's AI announced, 2 hours to emergence point. Around the Terran Dawn, 49 other human ships maintained perfect formation even in the twisted reality of fold space. Each one carried weapons that could destroy a small moon, crewed by men and women who had trained their entire lives for this moment. Run another systems check, Sunwoo ordered. I want every weapon, every shield, every targeting array at 100% when we arrive. He wouldn't admit it to his crew, But the numbers worried him. 300 against 50 were not good odds, even with humanity's technological advantages. Yanji pulled up more detailed scans of the Dominion fleet. Look at their weapon configurations, sir. Standard plasma cannons, missile arrays. They're not expecting any real resistance. They think this is just another slaughter. Sun Wu smiled grimly. They've never faced anything like us before. They've grown comfortable, hunting species that can't fight back. He paused at a crew station, watching as another systems check began. Show me the Aetherian city scans again. The display changed to show the crystal spires of the Aetherian capital, still standing despite the Dominion's orbital bombardment. The Aetherians had built their structures to last, using technologies that humanity was only beginning to understand. Among those spires, millions of civilians huddled in underground shelters, waiting for either rescue or death. All hands, Sun Wu announced over the ship's communication system. This is your captain. In less than 2 hours, we will emerge from fold space and engage the enemy. I want you to remember why we're here. He let his words sink in before continuing. We're not fighting for glory or conquest. We're fighting because somewhere along the way, humanity learned that strength means nothing if it isn't used to protect others. The bridge crew straightened at their stations, pride visible on their faces. They were the best Earth had to offer, chosen from millions for this mission. Each one knew the weight of responsibility they carried. Sir, called out the sensor officer, picking up energy signatures from the Dominion fleet. There, he paused, checking his readings. They're broadcasting their attacks on civilian targets. They want everyone to see what they're doing. Sun Wu's jaw tightened. Record everything. The galaxy needs to see this. And what happens next? He turned to his weapons officer. Status of the dark matter cannons. Charged and ready, sir. Targeting systems are sensed and running at optimal efficiency. The moment we exit fold space, we can fire. The journey through fold space continued, the minutes ticking down with agonizing slowness. Crew members checked and rechecked their systems, ran battle drills, and prepared for what would be humanity's first interstellar combat. The Terran Dawn's hull thrummed with power, its advanced systems ready to unleash devastation on an enemy that didn't even know they were coming. 1 hour to emergence, announced the AI. Sun Wu returned to his command chair, reviewing the battle plans one final time. Everything depended on timing and surprise. The human fleet would emerge from fold space already in attack formation, their weapons charged and ready. Send to all ships, he ordered. Final combat preparations. We emerge fighting. The message went out, and across 50 ships, crews moved to battle stations. The time for preparation was almost over. As they drew closer to their destination, Sun Wu thought about the message they would send to the galaxy today. The Dominion had ruled through fear for too long, believing that their technological head start made them invincible. They were about to learn that humanity had not spent its time idly since reaching the stars. The fold space drive's pitch rose steadily, counting down the minutes until they would tear their way back into normal space. Sun Wu Park, captain of the Terran Dawn, leader of humanity's first space fleet, stood ready. History awaited on the other side of that dimensional barrier, and he intended to make sure it was history worth remembering. Reality tore open as 50 human warships erupted from fold space, their hulls gleaming in the light of the Aetherian sun. The emergence was perfect. Each ship exactly where it needed to be, weapons already tracking targets. On the bridge of the Terran Dawn, Captain Sun Wu Park watched as the main viewer filled with the sight of the massive Dominion fleet. The enemy ships were ugly things, built for intimidation as much as warfare. Their black hulls bristled with weapons, and their shapes reminded Sun Wu of ancient Earth predators, all teeth and claws and threat displays. They surrounded the Aetherian homeworld like a swarm of metal locusts, their weapons leaving burning scars across the planet's surface. Multiple Dominion ships detected. Yanji reported from her tactical station, her fingers flying across the controls. They're broadcasting something on all frequencies. She paused, her face paling as she listened through her headset. "Sir, they're transmitting footage of their troops torturing Aetherian civilians. They're making a show of it." Sun Wu's hands tightened on his command chair. The main viewer split to show what the Dominion was broadcasting. The Aetherians, with their crystalline bodies and gentle voices, being systematically tortured by Dominion soldiers. The attackers wanted everyone to see this display of cruelty. "Shut off that feed," Sun Wu ordered. "Focus on tactical displays." The horrible images vanished, replaced by battle data. The Dominion ships were starting to react to the human fleet's arrival, but slowly. They clearly weren't taking this new threat seriously. "Sir," picking up Dominion communications, the comm officer reported. "They're laughing. They're calling us primitive rescuers and betting on how quickly they'll destroy us." Before Sun Wu could respond, Admiral Taiho's voice filled every channel, broadcasting not just to the human fleet, but on all frequencies the Dominion was using. His words were calm, measured, but carried the weight of humanity's judgment. "This is where humanity shows the galaxy who we are," he declared, "not through conquest, but through justice." The Dominion's response was immediate. A barrage of plasma torpedoes launched toward the human fleet. They clearly expected this opening salvo to devastate their new opponents. Instead, the human ships' advanced shields absorbed the attacks without effort. "Enemy weapons having no effect," Yanji reported, a hint of satisfaction in her voice. "Our shields are holding at 100%. They're using outdated weapon systems, nothing that can penetrate our defenses." Sun Wu watched as the Dominion fleet began to organize itself, finally starting to take the human presence seriously. Their ships moved into attack formations, preparing for what they thought would be another easy victory. "Multiple Dominion vessels moving to surround us," Yanji continued. "They're trying to cut off our retreat options." She paused, checking her readings. "Sir, they're broadcasting again. Their commander wants to speak to us." "Put it through," Sun Wu ordered. Main viewer. The screen filled with the image of the Dominion fleet commander, a reptilian being with scales that seemed to absorb light. Its eyes were cold, calculating, used to seeing fear in its victims. "Unknown fleet." The commander's translated voice carried a tone of amused contempt. "You show either great courage or great foolishness in coming here. Surrender now, and we may allow some of you to live as slaves." Sun Wu stood from his command chair, facing the image of humanity's first alien adversary. "This is Captain Sun Wu Park of the Terran Dawn. We are here to stop your attack on the Aetherian people. Power down your weapons and withdraw, or face the consequences." The Dominion commander's laughter filled the breach. "You dare to threaten us? We who have conquered 1,000 worlds. Your primitive vessels are outnumbered 6-1. What possible hope do you have?" "We're not here to threaten," Sun Wu replied calmly. "We're here to deliver justice. This is your final warning." The commander's response was to cut the transmission. Moments later, the entire Dominion fleet opened fire, filling space with energy weapons and missiles. "All ships, battle formation Delta," Sun Wu ordered. The human fleet moved with perfect precision, taking positions that would maximize the effectiveness of their superior weapons. "Charge the dark matter cannons. Quantum targeting systems online." Across the fleet, humanity's most advanced weapons powered up. The Dominion was about to learn that numbers meant nothing against sufficiently advanced technology. The real battle for the Aetherian system was about to begin, and with it, humanity's emergence as a force for justice in the galaxy. "Weapons ready," Yanji reported. "All ships reporting quantum targeting lock. We can end this with one synchronized volley." Sun Wu looked one last time at the massive enemy fleet, still arrogantly confident in their superiority. "For the Aetherians," he said quietly. Then, louder, "All ships, fire." Laughter filled every communication channel as the Dominion commander addressed his fleet. His voice dripped with contempt, 1,000 victories making him blind to the threat before him. "These primitives think they can challenge us. Our fleet has conquered 1,000 worlds. In the weapons control center of the Terran Dawn, Lieutenant Jisoo Lee's fingers danced across her console. The quantum targeting system hummed to life around her, its crystalline arrays glowing with barely contained power. Across the human fleet, 50 identical systems activated simultaneously, their computers linking together into a single network of devastating precision. Target solutions computed, Jisoo announced, her voice steady despite the adrenaline rushing through her veins. All ships reporting ready. She watched as the targeting display lit up with hundreds of red markers, each one representing the Dominion vessel. The enemy ships moved in complex patterns, thinking their evasive maneuvers would protect them. Jisoo allowed herself a small smile. "Calculate this," she whispered, and activated the system. The quantum computers didn't just track the enemy ships, they predicted their movements down to the subatomic level. Every possible evasive action, every attempt at escape, had already been calculated and countered before the Dominion ships even began to move. "Fire," came the order from Captain Sunwoo, and humanity revealed its true power. 50 dark matter cannons fired as one. There was no bright flash, no dramatic explosion, just beams of absolute darkness that seemed to devour the light around them. The Dominion's elaborate evasive maneuvers meant nothing. Not a single shot missed its target. The effect was immediate and devastating. Where the dark matter beams touched Dominion ships, reality itself seemed to warp. Shields that had withstood the weapons of 100 species might as well have been paper. Hull armor atomized instantly. 20 Dominion capital ships simply ceased to exist in the first volley. Direct hits confirmed, Jisoo reported, her targeting display showing the results. Enemy shields had no effect. Preparing second volley. The Dominion fleet's response was chaos. Their tight formation broke apart as ships tried to scatter in every direction. Their return fire was panicked, uncoordinated, plasma bolts and energy beams that splashed harmlessly against the human ship's advanced shields. "How?" The Dominion commander's voice had lost its arrogant tone, replaced by something close to fear. "What kind of weapons are these?" Nobody answered him. The human fleet moved with mechanical precision, each ship already locked onto its next target. The quantum targeting computers adjusted constantly, predicting every desperate attempt at escape. "Second volley. Ready," Jisoo announced. Around her, her crew worked with focused intensity, feeding targeting data to the rest of the fleet. The Dominion ships were trying to hide behind each other now, using their own allies as shields. It made no difference. Dark matter didn't care about physical barriers. The second volley was even more devastating than the first, dark beams passing through the front line of Dominion ships to strike targets deeper in their formation. "They're trying to open a fold space portal," one of Jisoo's operators reported. "Attempting to retreat." "Not today," Jisoo responded, her fingers flying across her console. The quantum targeting system shifted, focusing on the ships generating the fold space field. One shot was all it took, the ships vanished, and with them, the Dominion's hope of escape. The battle had been raging for less than 5 minutes, and already a third of the Dominion fleet was gone. Their remaining ships fired wildly, their legendary discipline shattered by weapons they couldn't understand or defend against. "All ships, maintain formation." Captain Sunwoo's voice came through clear and calm. "Don't let any of them escape. The galaxy needs to see this." Jisoo watched her displays as the human fleet executed a perfect pincer movement, herding the panicking Dominion ships into a smaller and smaller space. Dark matter beams continued to fire with methodical precision, each shot finding its mark. "Please," the Dominion commander's voice had lost all trace of its former arrogance. "We surrender. We'll leave this sector, never return." Transmission from Admiral Tahoe, Jisoo's comm officer reported, playing on all channels. The Admiral's response was simple. "You showed no mercy to the Etherians. Expect none in return." Another volley of dark matter beams crossed space. More Dominion ships vanished from Jisoo's displays. The quantum targeting system continued its perfect work, predicting and tracking every target with inhuman precision. Enemy fleet at 40% strength and falling, Jisoo reported. She checked her power readings. The dark matter cannons were still operating at full capacity, their experimental power cores showing no sign of strain. The battle was becoming a slaughter. The Dominion fleet, which had terrorized the galaxy for so long, was being systematically erased from existence. Their weapons, their shields, their tactics, all useless against humanity's technological superiority. Final targeting solutions computed, Jisoo announced. The remaining Dominion ships were trapped now, nowhere left to run. Ready to end this. The order came immediately. Fire. One last volley of dark matter beams crossed the battlefield. One last time. The quantum targeting computers proved their perfect accuracy. The remaining Dominion ships vanished into nothing, leaving only scattered debris as evidence they had ever existed. In less than 15 minutes, humanity had destroyed the most feared fleet in the galaxy. Jisoo looked at her final readings, confirming what the visual displays already showed. The battle was over. All targets eliminated, she reported. Space is clear. Space itself seemed to shudder as the dark matter weapons fired again and again. The weapons made no sound. There was no thunderous boom, no dramatic explosion. Instead, there was only the eerie sight of Dominion ships simply ceasing to exist where the dark beams touched them. Their mighty shields, which had withstood the weapons of 100 conquered species, might as well have been morning mist before the sun. On the bridge of the Terran dawn, Captain Sunwoo watched the systematic destruction of what had once been the most feared fleet in known space. The Dominion ships, massive vessels that had brought terror to countless worlds, were being erased from existence one by one. Impossible. The Dominion commander's voice crackled through the comm system, all traces of arrogance gone. Their weapons, they defy physics itself. His flagship, a vessel twice the size of the Terran Dawn, tried desperately to escape the killing field. The quantum targeting computers tracked it effortlessly. Target locked. Lieutenant Jisoo reported calmly. Firing. A beam of absolute darkness reached out and touched the Dominion flagship. For a brief moment, reality seemed to bend around the point of impact. Then the massive ship simply vanished, leaving nothing but scattered atoms where it had been. The battle clock on the main display showed 3 minutes and 42 seconds since the first shot. In that brief span of time, humanity had destroyed the most powerful fleet in the galaxy. Where once there had been 300 Dominion warships, now there was only debris and a handful of disabled vessels. Scan for survivors, Sunwoo ordered. His crew worked quickly, their movements precise despite the enormity of what they had just accomplished. Detecting life signs on 23 disabled vessels, Yanji reported. Their power systems are completely dead. Life support is running on emergency backup. Admiral Taho's voice came through the command channel. Secure those survivors. They'll stand trial for their crimes against the Aetherians and other species. The human fleet moved with practiced efficiency, surrounding the drifting hulks that still contained life. Marine teams prepared for boarding actions, though there was little chance of resistance. The Dominion crews had just watched their supposedly invincible fleet be destroyed in minutes. Their will to fight was gone. Message coming in from the Aetherian surface, the communications officer announced. They're singing, sir, some kind of celebration song. The crystalline harmonies are unlike anything I've ever heard. Sunwoo allowed himself a small smile. Put it on speakers. The bridge filled with music that seemed to dance between sound and light, the Aetherians' joy manifesting in ways human senses could barely comprehend. After centuries of watching helplessly as the Dominion destroyed civilizations, the galaxy was witnessing something new, justice. Begin recovery operations, Sunwoo ordered. I want damage assessment teams ready to assist the Aetherians with repairs to their cities, and get me a full inventory of what's left of the Dominion fleet. Their technology might be primitive compared to ours, but we should study it anyway. Reports began flowing in from across the battlefield. Not a single human ship had been lost. Their shields had easily absorbed the few hits the Dominion had managed to land. The dark matter weapons were still at full power, ready to fire again if needed. "Sir," Yunji called out, "we're picking up transmissions from at least 12 different species. Word of the battle is spreading fast. They're calling it the 3-minute war." The name was appropriate. In just over 3 minutes, humanity had announced its presence to the galaxy in the most dramatic way possible. They had arrived not as conquerors, but as protectors, wielding technology that made the Dominion's weapons look like children's toys. "Prepare to receive Aetherian representatives," Admiral Tahoe ordered across the fleet. "They'll want to thank us in person, and we have much to discuss about the future." As the human fleet began its post-battle operations, news of their victory spread across the galaxy at light speed. Species that had lived in fear of the Dominion for generations began to hope again. The message was clear. Humanity had arrived, and they had brought justice with them. Sunwoo looked at the main viewer one last time, taking in the sight of the scattered debris that had once been the mighty Dominion fleet. "Send word to Earth," he ordered. "Mission accomplished. The galaxy is about to change." In the Weapons Control Center, Lieutenant Jisoo ran final checks on the dark matter cannons. They had performed perfectly, just as all their simulations had predicted. Humanity had kept these weapons secret for years, developing them in preparation for exactly this moment. The 3-minute war was over. In its wake, a new era was beginning, one where the strong could no longer prey on the weak with impunity. Humanity had revealed itself not through conquest or intimidation, but through an act of protection that would be remembered for centuries to come. Sunrise on the Aetherian homeworld painted the crystal cities in rainbow hues. From the hidden bunkers deep beneath the surface, the first survivors began to emerge. Their crystalline bodies caught the light, sending prisms dancing across the ruins of their once perfect cities. They moved cautiously at first, then with growing confidence as they saw the human ships hovering protectively in orbit above. The Terran Dawn's shuttle landed in what had been the central plaza of the capital city. Admiral Tahoe stepped out, accompanied by Captain Sunwoo and Lieutenant Jisoo. Around them, the Aetherian buildings reached toward the sky like frozen waterfalls, their surfaces scared but not broken by the Dominion's attacks. The Aetherian High Council approached the human delegation. Their bodies seemed to sing with inner light, their movements graceful despite the horrors they had endured. The council leader, a being whose crystalline form shimmered with all the colors of the spectrum, stepped forward. "You came," the leader said simply, their voice like wind through crystal chimes. "When no one else would, you came." From holding cells aboard the human ships, the captured Dominion crews watched through viewing screens as their former victims welcomed their conquerors as saviors. The reptilian warriors who had terrorized the galaxy could not comprehend what they were seeing. Their entire understanding of power and dominance was being rewritten. News of humanity's victory spread across the galaxy at faster-than-light speeds. Species that had hidden from the Dominion for generations began to emerge. Messages flooded in from 100 worlds, all asking the same question: would humanity protect them too? "We never wanted to be warriors," Admiral Tahoe told the assembled Aetherian High Council. His words were being broadcast across their world and beyond. "But we will always stand against tyranny, wherever we find it. This is the promise of Earth. No species need face extinction alone again." The work of rebuilding began immediately. Human engineering teams worked alongside Aetherian craftsmen, combining their technologies in ways neither species had imagined possible. The Aetherians' knowledge of crystal engineering merged perfectly with human quantum mechanics, creating new possibilities for both civilizations. Lieutenant Jisoo found herself surrounded by Aetherian scientists, all eager to understand the weapons that had saved their world. She explained what she could, marveling at how quickly they grasped concepts that had taken humanity decades to develop. "Your dark matter technology," one Aetherian scientist observed, It could have been used for conquest. Yet you kept it secret until it was needed to protect others. That's what makes us different from the Dominion, Jisoo replied. Power is only meaningful if it's used to help others. In orbit, Captain Sunwoo coordinated the cleanup operation. The debris of the Dominion fleet was being carefully collected and studied. Already, other species were sending representatives, eager to meet the civilization that had done the impossible. The captured Dominion commanders were brought before a hastily assembled galactic tribunal. They still couldn't understand how they had been defeated so completely, so quickly. Their testimony would be studied for generations, a reminder of how pride and cruelty ultimately lead to downfall. 3 minutes and 42 seconds became a phrase repeated across the galaxy. The time it had taken humanity to end the reign of terror that had lasted centuries. Stories spread, growing with each telling. How the human ships had appeared like ghosts, how their weapons denied the laws of physics, how they had asked for nothing in return for their help. On Earth, celebrations broke out as news of the victory reached home. Humanity had passed its first great test as a spacefaring civilization. They had revealed themselves not through conquest or trade, but through an act of protection that would define their place in galactic society. The Aetherian High Council proposed an alliance, offering to share their medical technology in exchange for human protection. It would be the first of many such agreements. The galaxy was reorganizing itself, with Earth at the center not as a conqueror, but as a guardian. The age of the Dominion is over, Admiral Taiho announced in his final transmission from the Aetherian homeworld. The age of cooperation and mutual protection begins. As the sun set on the first day of this new era, the crystalline spires of the Aetherian capital glowed with inner light. The legend of the 3-minute war would be told for generations to come, not as a story of destruction, but as the moment when hope returned to the galaxy. Humanity had stepped onto the galactic stage and changed everything in an instant, proving that true strength lies not in the ability to destroy, but in the willingness to protect.